Hi there, I'm Coach Kyle. For those of you getting started in pickleball, we're just going to go over really the first three shots. So in pickleball, there's not a lot of tolerance for misses in the first three shots. Even if you're a beginning player, you should really get the serve in, you should get the return in, and then you should make the third shot, ideally. Where in tennis, 50% of your serves you're going to miss because you get two tries. But in pickleball, you only get one try. So you got to really make those first three shots. So today's tutorial, little video, I'm going to go over for basic beginning players how you get started in pickleball with the first three shots. So the first shot, let's just start with the serve. That's how we start the point. So I'm going to go on the other side, and I'm going to give you a technique that hopefully you'll be successful kind of first day out, just getting going. The one thing that we have to really be aware in pickleball is the ball doesn't bounce very much, and it will deflect downwards off your paddle. So we want to try to miss long and deep if we do miss. Try to not miss in the net, because if you miss in the net, you just don't get much information other than, you know, your paddle was probably too flat. So let's try to make our misses long and deep, and then that's something that we can adjust as we go along. So just a few pointers before I go on the other side. Let's pretend like this is my baseline on the other side. We're always going to serve cross court. It has to land past the kitchen line, which is this line right here. So anything in here or on this line is a fault. So you're going to always serve cross court. You're always going to start from the right. So I'm going to serve essentially in this box, but the lines are good on this side except for this kitchen line. So it has to land behind this cross court in this area here. The easiest way to do that is to get just cornered to this line. So some folks serve completely open stance. I think it's just a little easier if you just get more of a 45-degree angle. Hold your arm out on an opposite 45-degree angle to this line here. And then we're going to take our paddle back behind our right hip. And then we're going to finish in front of our front hip. And when I say finish, meaning I want to make sure that the handle goes from behind my hip to in front of my front hip. And that's key because a lot of people make the mistake of only swinging the racket tip and the handle stays back here and then the paddle face goes all over the place. The easiest way to think about it is I'm going to create a runway from that right corner into this box, and I'm going to send the entire paddle down that runway. To keep the ball over the net, we want to make sure that the paddle face is just slightly tilted upwards. A good reference point would be the top of the fence. So if I point my paddle towards the top of the fence, I take my paddle back and I swing to my front hip slightly upwards, probably pretty successful getting the ball over the net and cross court into the box. So I'm going to go over and just demonstrate real fast. You can stand anywhere from this side of the center line to this side of the right sideline. So I think somewhere in the middle of that, because this is the area that you're going to cover. So here's the thing about the serve in pickleball. We only get one try. We have to stay behind this line. So I'm going to get on my kind of quarter position, my 45-degree angle. I'm going to hold my arm out on the opposite 45-degree angle. I'm going to take my paddle back behind my right hip. I'm going to swing to my front hip, paddle back. I always hit the tripod. How is that possible? It's a thin little metal piece. How can I hit the tripod so many times? It's crazy. Paddle back behind my right hip, ball in front of my left hip. I'm going to pull the handle and swing upwards. A couple little nuances. You're not allowed to hit the ball above your waist. I'm not going to get into all these crazy rules about wrist position and things like that. You're just getting started. So if you break a few rules to getting going, the main thing is just to get you out comfortable. Now, here's the other piece. Super important. When you serve, again, handle behind my right hip, ball out on a 45-degree angle, I'm going to swing. My momentum might take me into the court. You need to immediately reset behind this line because pickleball has what's called the two-bounce rule. The returner has to hit the ball on the bounce. I have to hit the ball on the bounce, or my partner has to hit the ball on the bounce. The first two shots in pickleball have to happen after the bounce. The ball can bounce right here. So if I'm standing right here, it's going to be very difficult for me to field it. So once I serve, even if my momentum after the hit takes me in to the court, that's fine, but I need to immediately get behind this line, reset, and then if there's a short return, I'm ready to move. So I think that's the serve. That's the serve. Don't miss in the net. Don't miss in the net. Don't underestimate how much you have to tilt the paddle up and swing up. Just like that, you'll have a good first day. The next drill, we're going to talk about the return of serve. Unfortunately, I'm by myself today. I don't have anyone that can serve to me. The main thing on the return of serve is you want to go to the net. So you want to serve and move forward. So there's a few footwork patterns that are helpful on the return of serve. You want to use the same principles as you did on the serve, because basically the return of serve is kind of like a ground stroke. So we want to get the paddle back behind our right hip, and then we want to push through to our left hip. We want the paddle facing upwards a little bit, and we want to swing up. But the other piece that's a little bit different is the footwork, because we want to have some kind of transition forward. Now that we're receiving the ball, we're returning the ball, we need to really focus in on receiving skills. The serve is all about sending skills. I control the ball, hold it in my hand, I'm going to send it. The return is all about the receiving skills. So I'm going to start out in an athletic foundation, and I'm going to pay attention to the server, and I'm going to watch his paddle face angle, how hard he swings, and that's going to give me clues to where the ball is going to be on my side. So my receiving starts when the server starts his motion. I'm going to see the ball come off his paddle. I'm going to determine, is the ball on the right side of my body or the left side of my body. As soon as I recognize right or left, I'm going to go ahead and get my paddle over here by the hip that I'm going to hit from. So if it's going to be on the right side, I want my paddle by my right hip. From this position, I can move. So if I need to move forward or laterally, I can move. And the key thing about the return to serve, we want to hit and move forward. So if I need to move a little bit to the right, so I'm already in my preloaded position, I'm going to step out, get my right foot aligned, my right hip aligned. I'm going to have plenty of spatial distance so I can swing out to the ball, meaning I don't want to swing into my body, I want to swing slightly outwards. And then as soon as I hit, I'm going to transfer my weight to this left foot, and I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to reset behind this kitchen line on my side of the court. 3 things that we need to focus in on. I'm going to read and react to the server. As soon as it's off his paddle, I'm going to know, okay, if it's on the left side, I'm going to go ahead and get the paddle over here on my left side. If you use 2 hands or 1 hand, it doesn't matter. But I want the paddle by this hip that I'm hitting from. So if I'm hitting on the left side of my body, the reference point is my left hip, and I want to get that hip paddle near that hip, because I'm going to create this runway, and I need to send it past the opposite hip. So as soon as I read and react, it's on the left side of my body. I'm going to get my paddle on this side. I want to have my paddle face tilted up slightly. I can move, and then I can get my my left hip aligned where the ball is. If I have time, I can step forward, and then I can swing, and I want to make sure that this handle gets out in front of my opposite hip. And I'm just going to follow those same sending skills that I had on the serve, which is paddle face slightly up, swing slightly up towards the top of the fence, and then just strategic perspective, just get the ball in play. The serving team has to let the ball bounce, so there's no one at the net. So we should never, ever, ever miss returns. And that's why I was saying there's 0 tolerance for missing those 3 shots. So the return, you have no one at the net, make the ball in play, deeper is better. Do not miss in the net. Just do not miss in the net. If you need to like pop it up or hit lobs, that's better than missing in the net. So make sure that your paddle face is tilted upwards. I can talk about grips, but it really doesn't matter that much, because some people use Eastern forehand grips, some people use continentals, some people use Eastern backhand grips, and some people even use Western. But the key thing is to make sure your paddle is facing upwards. Regardless of what grip I have, that's semi-Western, I can make my paddle face upwards. That's an Eastern forehand grip, I can make my paddle face upwards. There's continental, I can make my paddle face upwards. So the key thing is paddle face upwards, hit on the bottom half of the ball. So if the ball is a clock, and this is 12 o'clock, and this is 6 o'clock, we want to make contact on the paddle about 4:30. That angle right there. I don't know what it is. Is it 12 degrees? Is it 17.4 degrees? I'm not sure. But if you can think about making contact around 4:30, swinging upwards, you'll avoid hitting balls into the... All right, the third shot. The third shot is a little bit tricky because you're back, you're the serving team. The returning team is most likely 2 people at the net waiting on your ball. Mentally, we want to have the same focus of do not miss in the net. Give your opponent an opportunity to make a play on the ball. If they hit a winner, great, we'll improve our third shots. Just give them an opportunity to make a play on the ball. So there's a few strategies. One, you can lob, but it's very hard to get the ball past someone at the net because it's only 22 feet on my side, right? Ideally, you want to try to hit the ball down at their feet, but we have a dilemma. Don't miss in the net. So what we try to do on our third shot, and I'm gonna demonstrate some third shots. So again, you serve, they return. The third shot, there's two people in the net. The most basic thing to do is just hit your normal ground stroke, which is basically your serve stroke. Hit it and hope that they give you a short ball, meaning that when they hit their volley, it allows you to move inside the court. Now I've gained a little bit of ground, okay? From here, you can go back to that same shot. Drive it again. Ideally, probably down the middle if we're just getting started. We want to try to, we don't want to try to go for the lines in pickleball. The court's very narrow. So the best target would be right down the middle until you get proficient to where you can hit smaller targets on the court. So this next one you're going to hit and drive, try to move forward. You might have to take your poison. They might hit the ball right at you, but that's okay. We have to work on reflex skills in pickleball. Your objective is to try to get up here at the net if you can. However, you don't have to. So you can just stay back and defend. For beginners, that's what I would do, right? Just take the net out of play, just hit normal ground strokes, and just stay back here and defend. And then what happens after that? It's just a bonus. You got your 3 shots in. You got the serve in, you got the return in, and you made the third shot, and then we're just gonna play it out and just defend our area of the court, 2 on 2, 2 at the net, 2 back, and just see how it plays out. As you get better, we're gonna try to drop this ball into that kitchen line area and allow us to transition up to the net, just like we did on the return to serve. But the first month that you play, for some people the first year you play, to be fair, you don't really have to play drop shots. The paddle technology allows you to take, pretty good swings, and if you refine your ground strokes, you'll be surprised how many points you can win just by, hitting that third shot drive, which is using your normal kind of serve technique. So hopefully that'll get you guys going, and we will see you on the court. Okay, so one last little tactical tip is, I had mentioned earlier, when you serve, even if your momentum takes you in, you want to reset behind this line. You want to get in an athletic position. You want to be able to move forward if you need to, and you want to be able to defend the ball that comes deep in the court. This is one thing that frustrates a lot of players. If you're the server and you do all those things, and your partner is over here after you serve, they just kind of drift into what we call no man's land, and then the ball comes down at their feet and they can't handle it. If you're the serving team, you need to stay behind this line because you're going to have to defend shots that can land all the way at the baseline. So whether you're serving or you're the server's partner, after you serve, just be sure that you're the serving partner, that you're wide and low and you're ready to move forward, or you're ready to defend a ball that comes deep on the baseline. There's a couple other nuanced rules. If you serve the ball and it hits the tape, but it lands in past the kitchen line, you play it. You play let serves. A couple other things. If by chance you get a ball that bounces in the playing zone, but comes over here outside the playing zone, you can hit around the net post. That's called an ATP, around the post. There's another crazy rule that you can jump across these lines and hit the ball out of the air, and that's called an Ernie. If you're a beginner and you do some Ernies, that's pretty impressive. But I'm just going to talk about some quick rules really fast. I talked about the 2 bounce rule. The ball has to bounce on the return side, and then the serve side has to hit the ball after the bounce. The other rule that you need to consider is that this line right here is called the kitchen line, the non-volley zone. You cannot volley in this space here, which is 7 feet from the net. Not only that, you can't hit the ball out of the air and then fall into the kitchen. That's a fault. So we have to stay behind this line when we hit the ball out of the air. Now you can stand in this area anytime you want, you just can't hit the ball out of the air. Strategically, you should stay behind this line, wait for the ball. If the ball bounces in here, you can step in and hit, but just go ahead and get back behind, because if you step in and hit, and then someone hits the ball and it hits you while you're standing here, it's a fault. Or if you hit it with your paddle while you're standing here, it's a fault. So we want to move in, off the bounce, step in, and move back and stay behind this line as quickly as possible. Scoring is you only score when you're serving. You always start the serve on the right side. The very first point is just a single serve. Every point thereafter, you get a turn from the right side. Then your opponent gets a turn after you fault on your side. Make sense? So you get 2 serves each. You and your partner get a serve, a chance, after the very first serve. So it goes 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. When you have a side out, you always start back whoever's standing on the right side. When you are serving and you win a point, let's say the score is 0-0, meaning it's even. So I always think about it, the right side's the even side. So if I have 0, I should be on the right side. If I win the point, then I'm going to move over to the left side and I'm going to serve over here. The score is 1-0, so it's odd number. I'm on the odd side. So I'm going to serve cross court. Again, it has to go past the kitchen line into the cross court box. If I win that point, we come back over here to the even side, because now I have 2 points. Even number, even sides. If I lose the point, then my partner gets to serve from the opposite side and he'll serve cross court. And again, we have to stay back because we have to wait for the ball to bounce before we can hit it as the serving. You play games to 11, win by 2. And again, you only score points when you're serving. On a side out, the returning team didn't get a point. They just get the serve and they retain the points that they had before.